quietly on the edge of her bed, staring out the window as the city lights began to flicker on one by one. The soft hum of traffic below felt distant, almost like it belonged to another world. She hugged her knees, feeling a hollow ache that she couldn't quite name. It had been weeks since David had asked for a break, and though she had told herself it was only temporary, the silence between them had grown heavier each day. Her apartment felt smaller now, every corner filled with memories of shared laughter. Late-night talks and plans that had once seemed unshakable. Emma traced her fingers along the edge of the photo frame on her nightstand, a picture of them smiling at the park last summer. And she wondered if he even thought about it anymore. She wanted to reach out, to hear his voice, to be reassured that this pause was just a step toward something better. But every time her phone buzzed with a message from someone else, not him, the hope that had once felt warm now flickered like a candle in the wind. Emma wrapped herself in a blanket and leaned back against the wall. She thought about the little things she had once taken for granted, the way he laughed at her terrible jokes, the way he would leave little notes in her coat pocket, the quiet moments when just sitting together felt enough. Those moments felt like a lifetime ago. Yet, despite the ache in her chest, there was still a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, she told herself, this break would bring clarity. Maybe distance would remind him and her why they had chosen each other in the first place. She wanted to believe it, needed to believe it, even as a small voice inside whispered that things were changing in ways she couldn't control. As she glanced out the window again, watching the city's evening glow reflect on the rain-slicked streets, Emma felt a strange mix of longing and fear. The pause in their relationship had opened a space she wasn't sure she was ready to fill, but it had also awakened a quiet curiosity. What would happen next? Would he come back? Or had the break already begun to rewrite their story quietly, without warning? Her heart tightened at the thought, and for the first time in weeks, Emma felt the weight of uncertainty settle over her completely. She didn't know the answers, but she knew one thing: her life and her heart were about to change in ways she hadn't expected. At the small cafe they had visited every Sunday for years, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, the smell of freshly baked pastries filled the air, and she couldn't help but remember the mornings they had spent here, laughing over silly stories and planning futures that felt certain. She remembered the first time they met. David had tripped over a crack in the sidewalk and she had helped him steady himself. His embarrassed smile had made her heart flutter, and in that moment a quiet connection had sparked between them. Over time, those small moments had built a bond that felt unshakable. Quiet nights reading together, spontaneous road trips to nowhere, and endless conversations that lasted until the early hours of the morning. Emma's fingers brushed against the coaster on the table, tracing invisible patterns as memories washed over her. She thought of the times he had shown up with her favorite coffee just because he knew she was having a rough day, or how he would listen so patiently when she talked about her dreams, encouraging her in ways no one else had. Those were the moments that had made her feel truly seen, truly loved. But alongside the warmth of memory, there was a shadow she hadn't wanted to face: the reasons they had grown apart. Small disagreements that had been ignored too long, misunderstandings left unspoken, and quiet disappointments that had slowly piled up until the weight of it all became too heavy. Emma realized that love alone wasn't always enough. Trust, patience, and timing mattered just as much. Sipping her coffee, she allowed herself to feel the ache of missing him, the longing for the comfort of his presence. She remembered how easy it had been to share her thoughts with him, how his laughter had once chased away every worry. And she understood now why letting go, even temporarily, had seemed necessary, but also how painfully it had left her heart suspended between hope and sorrow. As the rain began to tap softly against the cafe window, Emma whispered to herself, "We had something beautiful, something worth remembering." And in that moment, she realized that remembering didn't just bring sadness, it also reminded her of the depth of a bond that had shaped who she was, and what she was still learning to hold on to, even in the quiet absence of the one she loved. The soft chime of the bookstore door caught Emma by surprise. She had wandered in to escape the afternoon drizzle, hoping to lose herself among the shelves of familiar titles. And then she saw him, David, browsing the poetry section, his familiar posture making her heart skip unexpectedly. For a moment, the world felt suspended. The hum of the rain outside fading into quiet stillness. He looked up, startled, and their eyes met. Time seemed to stretch, carrying with it all the unspoken words, the lingering laughter, and the moments they had once shared. Emma felt a rush of emotions: surprise, longing, and the faint spark of hope she had tried to bury. David took a careful step forward, a small, tentative smile on his face. "Emma," he said softly, as if saying her name aloud might somehow bridge the weeks of distance. "I didn't expect to see you here. I I guess fate has a strange way of bringing people back together," she replied, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. They walked slowly through the aisles, sharing stories of recent weeks, the little victories, and the quiet moments of reflection. With each sentence, the tension eased, replaced by a bittersweet warmth that reminded them of why they had connected in the first place. They laughed at old jokes, shared memories, and for the first time in weeks, Emma felt the weight on her heart begin to lift. But it wasn't just nostalgia that brought them together, it was understanding. They spoke openly about what had gone wrong, the small misunderstandings and the missed chances, acknowledging the cracks that had formed in their bond. And yet there was also a quiet realization that despite the distance, the love they had shared had never truly faded. As the rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, Emma and David stepped outside together. The city felt alive in a new way, the streets reflecting the soft light of the setting sun. She realized that some breaks were meant to teach, not to end, and that love sometimes required patience, forgiveness, and courage to embrace a second chance. Emma smiled, a genuine, full-hearted smile. She didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, the past and present felt perfectly aligned. Their story wasn't over. It had simply taken a new shape, one built on understanding, hope, and the quiet certainty that hearts willing to return could find their way back to each other. This part closes, the story with heartfelt, emotional resolution. Keeps the romance clean and safe and aligns fully with YouTube policies, if you want. I can combine all three parts into a polished, narratable script, optimized for YouTube storytelling with soft hooks at each transition. Do you want me to do that next?